For NY Up in Syracuse.com, this is Matt Parrino coming to you from Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina, where the Buffalo Bills pulled off a 27-14 win over the Carolina Panthers. Second preseason game, 2-0 for the Bills. A very nice start. And tonight, the main storyline was the effectiveness of the Buffalo Bills offense, led by Josh Allen, going 9 of 11 for 102 yards. Led two scoring drives, 10 points, and his top target, Cole Beasley. I know we've been talking a lot about him, guys, but it's an exciting development if you're a Bills fan, because I think one of the big questions when the Bills went out in free agency and gave Cole Beasley a 4-year contract was, well, Josh Allen struggles a little bit in that short to intermediate passing game. How is he going to utilize a guy like Cole Beasley? Well, over the course of the last 2 weeks, we've really seen that chemistry start to get ramped up between Josh Allen and Cole Beasley. And Josh Allen talked about it after the game today. It comes from repetitions. It's coming from the meeting rooms. Everything that they're seeing, they're going back to the drawing board, going over it together, and the results are starting to show on the field. Cole Beasley had 5 catches tonight on 5 targets for 44 yards, and it came in a number of different ways. One of the big takeaways, too, from this offensive production that led to 10 points on 2 drives for this offense was the clean pocket that Josh Allen had to work with. He wasn't looking to evade because he wasn't under duress. He said he went back to the sidelines, looked at the pictures from the plays, and he saw the clean pocket around him. And he went up to some of the offensive linemen, John Feliciano at center, Spencer Long at right guard, Cody Ford at right tackle, and then, as it's been all along, Deion Dawkins and Quentin Spain on the left side. And he said thank you to his guys because he had a clean pocket. And that's something that we talked about, how important that's going to be this season for Josh Allen to be effective in that passing game. Ty Seke, John Brown, two notable players that didn't dress today. Ty Seke, Brandon Bean report said pregame that he's dealing with a little bit of a knee issue. The team doesn't feel like it's that serious. So Cody Ford was out on the right side, and I thought in some moments he looked fine. If you go back and watch the game, you're going to see a few plays where he gets beat out on the outside with that speed rush on the outside, which I think is one of the knocks on him and why people think some draft experts believe he'll be better on the inside. But I thought the interior line play was really strong. John Feliciano again for a second straight game. And Spencer Long, I know a lot of people were down on Spencer Long for the way that he played with the Jets last year, but everything you've seen from him so far, dating back to the spring, all the way up until this second preseason game, I think the early returns are good. He has that position flexibility, can play some center, can play some guard, and I think there's so many options with Mitch Morris progressing in the protocol, could be back for the start of the season, so it'll be interesting to keep an eye on that. Beyond that first team, I think you have to be thrilled if you're the Bills. You go back to last season, you had Nathan Peterman, you had A.J. McCarron, and then you had your young Josh Allen, who was just learning how to walk in this league, and now he's kind of jogging quite a bit. Now you have a guy in Matt Barkley who, a career journeyman who seems like he's finally figuring some things out. Very consistent these last 2 games. The 3 games that he's played now in a Buffalo Bills uniform have been really, really good. And I know he's going against a second-team defense, and you got to take everything that's happening in the preseason with a grain of salt. But he's composed. He's making plays. Today he finds Duke Williams on a beautiful touchdown pass. Duke Williams second on the team in receiving, which is a nice sign. I know fans are very high on Duke. And what he did, and Sean McDermott said in his press conference, he came out here, he was aggressive in the blocking game, which, physicality is a big part of his game. And he asserted himself. They brought him in for one play with the first team, and it was a screen play, and they wanted to bring him in to just get him out in some space and block a little bit. And Sean McDermott was happy with the way that Duke Williams played tonight. So that's a big plus for him as we go forward here and try to figure out who's going to fit, how many receivers are they going to keep. Isaiah McKenzie had another nice game today. Ray McLeod didn't pop as much, nothing really horrible to report, but just not making the plays that you'd hope for after a strong spring from Ray McLeod. Christian Wade, what can I say? The European sensation does it again. A bad throw from Tyree Jackson with a third-team offense in the game. Christian Wade had to kind of catch the ball behind him a little bit, stop, reset, and then go upfield. He made a couple tacklers miss and took it 48 yards, 2 yards away from a touchdown. It would have been his second career touch and it would have been potentially for a touchdown again after that beautiful 65-yard run last week. And, Christian Wade is just, we talked to him after the game, and he said, the guys yelled at me on the sidelines afterwards because I didn't take the blocks the correct way. If he would have kept it and ran it up the sideline, he probably could have taken it for 6 points, but instead he tried to find some space, which is very familiar to him from the game of rugby. Wherever you see space, that's where you try to attack. So I think it's such a fun story, and I keep hearing people or seeing people on social media asking me, can this guy make the team? And I think it's such an uphill climb because, number one, he's still learning the game. And what this international pathway program is for is to allow players to come over here and start to really understand the concepts and practice the concepts. I think throwing him into the potential 53-man mix, or even a member of the practice squad where, let me explain this a little bit. If he is kept as part of the international pathway program and kept in that one exempt spot, he can't be called onto the roster during the season. So the thought process is, if you're seeing him pop, why not put him on the practice squad and then be able to maybe call him up if you have injuries or you see some development there? Well, I think that because of the way the international pathway program is constructed, the likeliest of options here is that he lands in that exempt spot just because there's still so much for him to learn. Everything that he's doing, as talented as he is still coming with loads of lessons. So, fun story. On the defensive side of the ball, I wanted to make a quick note on two guys. Number one, Trent Murphy. Huge sack tonight going against the first team right tackle. Beautiful spin move, finished at the quarterback. And that's a great sign for a Bills defensive line that we've been talking a ton about. You have the new interior presence of Ed Oliver, Jerry Hughes still on the outside. And if Trent Murphy can give you that pressure on the other side with Star Latuli's ability to kind of eat up blocks, we're talking about a completely different level of defensive line. And I think early returns on Trent Murphy are good here. I mean, he's progressing. He looks healthy. And so it'll be exciting to see what he can do once the season gets on. And finally, Kevin Johnson. We talked to him down in the locker room afterwards, and he was very humble about his 71-yard interception return for a touchdown. Obviously, a huge play for him as he is continuing to battle with Levi Wallace. But I think what we're seeing from Levi Wallace is, number one, a guy that is competitive, making plays. He had one tonight at the goal line where Torrey Smith had caught a ball and Levi Wallace ripped it out. So Levi Wallace is doing his best, putting his best foot forward to keep that stranglehold on that job. And then you have Kevin Johnson, who is going to be that depth guy that can kind of be put out there in different situations, who's making plays. And I think that, Kevin Johnson, a humble guy, says he just wants to be here, help the team win, but it's got to be a good feeling for a guy, that struggled to stay on the field and now is making plays and making, an impact. And before we get out of here, I want to bring up Tommy Sweeney, 2 big catches tonight. He was outstanding, starting to build quite the rapport with Josh Allen, who feels confident going his way. Listen, we're talking about a 7th-round draft pick, a guy that, a lot of draft experts were very high on his potential, but still a 7th-round draft pick getting thrust into a role of first-team reps and in a preseason game on the road against the Carolina Panthers, a good traditionally good defense, and he's out there making plays. I mean, Josh Allen made some nice throws on them, but, Tommy Sweeney has to make the catch. He's dropped a few, dropped one in practice and one last week in the game. But he's growing, and I think that that's a good sign. And you're talking about Dawson Knox, who we talked about throughout the spring before the hamstring injury and the upside as a pass catcher. Now you're starting to kind of see a bigger picture here with Dawson Knox, Tommy Sweeney, Lee Smith, who's in the that kind of leadership role, more of a expertise is in blocking. So I think that core, and we're not even talking about Tyler Kroft yet, who also could be entered back into the mix, but long term, not even just now. I think you're seeing enough flashes from Tommy Sweeney, and we saw some stuff from Dawson Knox, in the spring, to think to yourself that the Bills are doing some nice things at the tight end position. What does that mean for week 1 against the Jets? That remains to be seen. But for right now, I think, the young kind of core of that position on the roster, is strong, and it has to at least be exciting for Bills fans after some of the poor play in recent years. particularly Charles Clay. But as always, guys, I want to thank you for following our coverage from the Carolinas this week. We had some fun in Spartanburg at the joint practices, and then up in Charlotte here the last 2 days. We're headed back to Buffalo. The Bills will be back on the practice field on Sunday. So as always, for all of your Buffalo Bills content, keep it locked on the NY Up and Syracuse.com.